brothers and sisters, and welcome to Very Life Media on Light and Love. My name is Đô Nguyễn, and today I would like to bring to you the topic on the soul, the incarnation of the soul. I think last time we talked about. We talked a little bit about the conscience of the soul, that is part of the soul, and the ability to feel the attributes of our feeling, or the ability to feel and learn to. At some point, we will all learn to utilize these attributes in order to discern the different vibration, the different frequencies and energy and wavelength. Whether or not it is in harmony with the soul or not of the soul. Anyway, so going back to the incarnation of the soul, what is the soul? The very essence of soul is love. I've said that. But what is the incarnation? When we incarnate into this life, what is happening? I think there are a lot of people, talking about looking for my soulmates or looking for my other half. And in some way, whether it's likely to be unconsciously talking about it, that we have the other half. When the soul incarnates, when the soul has a desire to incarnate into this life, that soul at some point, when that desire is strong enough, and when one is ready to incarnate, that soul divide into two halves, and the one that will incarnate while the other may take some time. They may incarnate at about the same time, or the other part will stay and linger for some time, and at some point incarnate. And the time span maybe varies very wide. It can be about similar in time, maybe a day, time, hours, or it can be years. We talk about the energy, right? Energy, the soul is an energetic being. When we break in half, and I'm gonna talk. Let's see here. There, in each one of us, and at some point in our practice and meditation and practice and prayer, feel the two helix of energy, and oftentimes when you look at in medical science, where they use those two helix of the DNA, and then at the very top, if you look at it, it's actually they use the head of the snake, right? And if you count on them, if you count those, when they cross over like this, there are 7 nodes representing 7 chakras or energy centers within our physical body. So when the two halves breaking into two halves, one will likely to have, if we're using words to describe it, one may have more masculine energy and lesser amounts of feminine energy, and the other may take on more feminine energy and less masculine energy, or in some ways half-halves, if you will. And so it varies in that, and each of that is depending on what I would say the purpose that we desire to do in this life. So those two energies that within ourselves. But it's the marvelous part with this is that we don't really need the other half in order to complete our developments in love. But at some point in our lives, in our practice and so on, that we come to understand how to harmonize those two forms of energy so that you become complete. in meaning that when and there's a certain law. Everything is working within the law of love, right? I mean, finding the other half is not as simple as well. I think we can all say that it's like we have no idea who's our other half. We all grow up and get married to somebody, and but not necessarily that person is our other half. And even if we happen to run into our other half, we may not be able to stand the other person when they have all these dark emotions and personalities that is not to our liking. And this is because we enter into this world of chaos, if you will. This world has a lot of negative energy, right? So I want to use the analogy, like, let's say if you have when you have your newborn baby, you look at that baby, you cannot not love that baby. It's just pure, right? It has yet to develop its mental capacity. It absorbs some of that emotion. Now, when the two parents make love and make a child for them, depending on the cell from the father and the egg from the mother, in order to have this to make a being. And what does it mean? Is that it take on the form, the DNA trace of the parents. In addition to that, it also take on some of the emotional energy of the two parents, and that make up the physical body, as well as to some degree the emotional body for that being. When the soul enter into it, whether it has equal halves of masculine and feminine, or more masculine and less feminine, or more feminine, in that way, now just think of that, you as a soul, a very essence of love, but that love energy is waiting to be developed in love. But taking on this form that already has a certain imprints of DNA of the two parents, and also to some degree the emotional energy of the two parents, and especially the mother, because whatever the mother feel during that time of pregnancy, that particular child that is forming inside is now taking that emotional energy at that point. If a child, if the two parents are nurturing in love, then it's going to have a beautiful emotional energy of love. If the two parents are constantly fighting and arguing and stressed out with all kinds of dealing with, whether it's from work or related or whatever the situations may be, then that energy is also taking form with that particular child. And the very essence of love entering and taking on the physical form and being as a child. Can you imagine? So you imagine that child, the way that it's starting, it's already having these types of energies and emotions that are in disharmony with the very essence of its soul, its being. And so, and And a lot of times, those when they are young, especially this is the very, very important is childhood development in the very first, let's say 5-7 years is very, very critical for this child, whether we raise it with love or we raise it with something else. And oftentimes when that child absorbing all these emotions from the mother and the father as a parents, it could, and its mind has yet to develop, right? So it can only feel, but even the ability to feel, it doesn't know how to control the feeling or learn how to use this capacity to feel in order to discern, using with the mental capacity to say this is good, this is bad, this is should be doing, this is not should be doing. Whatever it feels is gonna manifest out into words and action in front of the parents. And let's take the example of a child that is acting out in a negative way. And what it does is really acting out the very negative energy emotions of either the mother or the father during those young years. And often you see, like, when, let's say, if a father and son, and oftentimes father and son have a hard time in developing a relationship if they have some negative emotions and conflicts between the father and his father, for example. And so the child will act out, and then really they act out the emotions of either the father or the mother. And if it's with the father, and when it acts out like that, the father actually, let's say, stop doing that, right? He's being triggered, but he's projecting without understanding. He is now projecting as his child and say, "You stop that," for example, but not realizing that the son or the daughter is merely now manifesting the very emotions of the father or the mother. And so this is important, where I wanted to bring to light or bring to your attention that when you, in that very moment, using the ability to feel is feel from within. Feel what is being triggered within you. It is, and really having an appreciation and thanking the child that he is now pulling this out so that you can see it. The action is there. It's merely manifesting out because we're not willing to see it from within. At the invisible level, at the inner level, the child is now acting out at the physical level. Allow us to see it so that we can pay attention to it and have a desire to change it, to fine-tuning it so that we are in more alignment with love. We are so used to blaming. When we see it, we blame it. Or we're saying, "Oh, it's take up on this is all yours," right? Blaming on the partner, blaming on the spouse. See, look what your child is taking on and acting out like this. Or it's your son, it's your daughter. You handle it. But not understanding, not realizing that is all of this is still working within the law of love, okay? And the way, if I may explain this, the way the law of love works in many aspects, and one of the aspects is constantly trying to bring us back to harmony. And it's using everything as its disposal in order to bring ourselves back to harmony. If we can't see it at the invisible level, at the inner level, then we constantly suppressing our negative emotion, our dark emotions, that create disharmony within our life at that moment, then then the law of love will move the energy and call upon other laws in order to bring this out, whether it's triggering it within us, bring it out into it, whether it's manifests in anger, or it manifests in guilt, or manifesting in hatreds, or whatever that may be, sadness and so on. That is a way of bringing it out into the physical so that we can recognize it. If we look at the anger and say, oh, why was I so angry at the moment that I can't seem to control? That's allowed us to see it, because we can't see it. It's easy. It is better, I should say, it is better if we're able to transcend that energy at the inner level and not out in a different way, let's say at anger, because anger is of energy that tends to project onto someone else, and that's create more disharmony at a lower level, lower layer of energy, if you will. And the lower that we move the energy, it is harder to transcend. It takes more energy and it feels pain. If we project anger onto somebody, later on we're gonna have to feel sadness within ourselves. The sadness behind that anger. And for a lot of people, especially men, for example, we don't want to feel sad. It's like, I don't want to feel sad. The moment that we feel sad, we either fine, let's go to a bar and drink to forget about this. That means we're suppressing it back down. Or we go out into an event or go visit somebody and talk and have fun and so what we're actually creating or what we're actually doing, we find a different way in order to suppress this back down. And it's like anything else. The more we compress it, the more we add into it. It's like a compressor. Like, let's say, like a coil of ring, if you will. The more that we compress, kind of keep on compressing over time, at some point that create like a potential energy that when you can't contain it anymore, it will explode. And it will explode at the most undesired situation in time, where you can't control it. The mind cannot control that. That energy is raw and is powerful. And it is like a command. This is what the mind will, the mind now will act like a slave, that it will just gonna act out. What can I do for this energy? If the energy is anger, what can I do? I hit the person, I throw things at the person. So going back into this, the incarnation of a soul has the energy of a masculine and feminine combined. And think in terms of an undeveloped soul, but has this very pure essence of love, entering into a physical form that has the makeup, the DNA makeup of two parents that may already have a mixture of everything, all the different types of emotions. And those emotions, or whatever the emotions that make up into it, create this, in a way, emotional body of that particular soul. So at the very starting point, the soul is already in conflict between the undetectable or don't know how to hone the skill to use the attributes of feeling in order to understand the very nature of love. But that very nature of love is now being suppressed with this negative, dark, emotional energy that forms the very body that is invisible and taking around the physical form. All right, so I would like to stop here for now, and until next time, we will have another topic to discuss.